Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alan with D9J Sports. We're right back at you with the midday runaround. So before we start, I'm going to need you to hit that like. I'm going to need you to hit that subscribe button so we can make the channel grow. So let's get to it, our midday runaround. We're going to start off talking about Texas high school athletes. And Texas high school athletes are changing the way sports is being played, and the UIL and the coaches are not happy with it. Some of the things that are going on, you've got at least 15,000 athletes that may transfer within the state, some coming from out of state. Now, the UIL doesn't allow athletes to transfer just for athletic purposes, but we're seeing this trend that goes on. We all know that it happens in college football, and that actually is trickling down to high school football and high school basketball and all the sports. So that's a great number of young men and women that will be transferring out. Now, the reason why the UIL doesn't allow this is because you're able to build a super team. You get some of the greatest high school athletes to transfer to the same city. They get on a team, and then that makes it an unfair playing environment for all the other kids. Now, you see this a lot. You see this a lot in the charter schools. You're able to transfer to a charter school without any recourse, and you see some of the super teams. So I've always had a problem with that. There are a couple of schools, I won't name them, but there are a couple of teams that continue to be powerhouses in the charter school area. So that is a story, and that is a big story within the state of Texas. So we will definitely keep an eye on that, see what the UIL does about that, because we don't want it to turn into college football. We don't want that to happen. Okay, so let's move on. Our next one we're going to talk about is we've got 409 game of the week. We've got Coach Eric Peavy and the Little Cypress Small Eastville Battling Bears traveling down to Hampshire Fannett to take on Coach Mark Wagner and the Hampshire Fannett Longhorns at 7:30 p.m. in Hampshire Fannett Stadium. Now, we know that the Hampshire Fannett Longhorns went on a great run last season, and right now they're currently ranked number 13 in the state preseason polls, and they want to get their season started off the right way. Of course, they ended up losing last year in the playoffs, but they want to get back and start their season off right. But the Little Cypress Morrisville Battling Bears and Coach Eric Peavy, they have a different thing in mind for them. They're actually picked to win their district also. So if you remember a couple of years ago, they upset Hampshire Fannett. So that should be a great one down in the 409 between two teams that are ranked number 1 in their district and one that's ranked, as I stated earlier, ranked number 13 in the Texas high school preseason football polls. And there's also a big game that's going to be going on. If you watch the channel, you know that there's a big game between the Jasper Bulldogs and the Chapel Hill Bulldogs that will be going on in Jasper, Texas at Bulldog Stadium Friday night. Hope to see you there. Let's keep it moving. Well, it's a big day. There's only one day left until the NFL cut down, ladies and gentlemen. Teams, the deadline is Tuesday, August 27th by 4 p.m. The teams have to cut down from 90 players to 53 players. There will be 17 players that will be placed on the practice squad. The practice squad players can also be pulled up to the active roster at least 3 times during the regular season. If these players are called up for a 4th time, then they must be signed to the National Football League and to that active roster. Practice squad players. Now, let's talk about some of the money that practice squad players make, and I want you to think about when you get your paycheck once a week or twice a week, or however you get paid once a month. So practice squad players make between $12,500 to $21,300 per week. It's pretty good. That's a pretty good bag. It's a pretty good bag. Now, behind the glitz and the glamour and all that we see, this is the worst day in football. Tomorrow before 4 p.m. is the worst day in football. Many of those players who spent their entire life, these young men have spent their entire life chasing that dream, and there's quite a few of them that will never touch a football field again, or for that matter, put on football pads, put on football helmet. There are quite a few leagues. The opportunities will still be there for some of them, but ladies and gentlemen, for the most part, a lot of those young men won't ever play football again. And it's a story that you don't hear about, but it really takes a toll on you mentally. If you've ever played sports and you've ever chased that dream, and that dream comes to an end at an early age, all you know is chasing that dream, and then it doesn't come true. It's very tough. So mental health is definitely going to come a factor. So if you happen to know a young man that doesn't get into the National Football League, and if he doesn't feel like he wants to continue to chase that dream, and if he doesn't get in the USFL or Canadian football, then let's pay attention to him, because it's tough. It's really tough. I can assure you that there are some young men right now that are walking around at the facility, and the one thing they don't want to run into is the guy called the Turk. And the Turk is the guy that's going to be walking in the locker room if they're lifting weights, and he's going to say, hey, come go with me. Coach wants to see you. And you know when that happens, it's devastating after all that work you've put in. Let's continue on. Finally, the Colorado Buffaloes continue to be in the national media. Finally, Colorado halted the reporter Sean Keller from questioning Coach Prime. The attacks on Coach Deion Sanders haven't always been, in my opinion, out of line. There isn't anything wrong with questioning a coach about some of the football calls that he may make on the field. That happens to every coach on every level. But when you start making personal attacks, attacking the program, and then the most amazing, you call the man a false prophet. Why would you call him a false prophet? What does that have to do with X's and O's or playing football? We all know Coach Prime isn't ashamed to put his beliefs out there, his religious beliefs out there. I don't blame you, Coach Prime. If that's what you believe in, I understand it. Myself personally, I never have understood why so much hate goes on with Coach Prime, and he's only trying to improve those young men and trying to help them to develop into young men. If you ever watch Coach Prime and some of the stories that he tells you about, some of the stories that he tells those young men, it's to the point. That's only going to last for a few seasons. Then what? We know everybody's not going to make it to the National Football League. And another one, Paul Feinbaum. Stop, Paul. You're part of the problem too, Paul. You never have anything positive to say about Coach Prime. It's always something bad. Was the Colorado Buffaloes the only team that were a losing team last season? I know the season before that, the Colorado Buffaloes won one game. They've only won like a couple of games before Coach Prime got there. In the past 5-6 years, they're the doormat. Coach Prime is doing his best. He didn't have enough players. He's got some more players. So I want you guys to keep that same energy for Coach Prime when he turns things around. They're not the only program that struggled last season. But I don't see you giving those coaches and those players on those teams that same type of energy. Let's be consistent in what we're doing. So this is Alan with D9J Sports in the Midday Rundown. Till the next time, we're definitely out.